What's up, everybody? Matt Kajeski here, back again with the Odd Shopper channel. And today I am bringing you a brand new college football series. We are going to be looking at the top teams in the country, breaking them down one by one ahead of the college football season. And we'll be giving you bets along the way, talking rosters, everything you need to know about these teams. And we'll kick things off with USC today. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We are also brought to you today by BetMGM. BetMGM, the sponsor of the show, we will be referencing them throughout. But this phenomenal offer, you can get up to $1,000 in a risk-free bet with your first deposit at BetMGM. All you have to do to take advantage of this is click the link in the video description below or use the promo code OSCFB to take advantage of that risk-free bet. Again, first deposit, and it is up to $1,000. All right, USC. Really fun team to look at this year with all the moving parts. Their over-under sits at 9.5. It's minus 110 on both sides, so no crazy juice one way or the other. And then to win the Pac-12, they are plus 220. When you look at this, it's kind of a three-horse race between USC, Utah, and Oregon. Utah's plus 240. Oregon is plus 280. Slight differences there, but I do believe USC is the rightful favorite. We'll talk about all the coaching changes, roster changes, and then give you the bet, but this is a team I am bullish on. USC, they have Lincoln Riley coming over now, the storied coach for Oklahoma. He's been phenomenal since he took over head coaching duties there. He's 55-10 in his career. He's going to be handling a lot of the offensive duties. Josh Henson's the new OC. He's the Texas A&M O-line coach, had a lot of success there, put out plenty of NFL products. And DC, kind of surprisingly to some people, is Alex Grinch. He follows Lincoln Riley over to USC, where he's kind of had mixed reviews. He had a really tough job ahead of him when he took that DC job, rebuilding it. And he kind of did so. And last year, people believed it would culminate in Oklahoma's best defense under his tenure. But I think injuries largely had a lot to do with their underwhelming performance last year. But now we get to the on-field product. We know the coaches are solid. I actually don't mind Grinch's DC. Offense is going to be electric. They got the number one transfer in the country in Caleb Williams coming over at quarterback. He already has familiarity with the Lincoln Riley scheme. He has awesome mobility. He completed 65% of his passes for 9.1 yards per attempt last year, a 21-4 touchdown to interception ratio. He's young. He needs to grow in this program. But what he showed last year, I think that's why he's the number one transfer in this class and why USC is taking a major step forward at the quarterback position. They also landed two premier transfers at running back. Travis Dye comes over from Oregon. Austin Jones comes over from Stanford. Dye's 5'10", 200 pounds, and he's an awesome pass catcher. He caught 46 balls last year. He's somebody you can use on all three downs. And if they do need to spell him, Jones has been awesome as well. He caught 32 passes last year. These are both players that have three-down skill sets. And luckily, USC is going to be able to spell each other just by using these two. And if one were to get hurt, not really expecting a big drop-off. From there, wide receiver has so many premier players, they can't even all be on the field at the same time. One player we know who will be is Biletnikoff winner Jordan Addison, not eligible to come out in the NFL draft last year because of his age, but he won the award over the likes of Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, you name the player, he still won it. He caught 100 passes for over 1,500 yards and 17 scores with Pitt. He's a bit smaller, 6 feet, 175, but he's going to work in and out of the slot and be an integral part of this USC offense. They also brought Oklahoma transfer Mario Williams over, who has familiarity with this scheme. And he's a guy that averaged over 2 yards per route run. That's well above the league average for college football. Not to mention, they have all sorts of transfers coming in. Brendan Rice comes over from Colorado. Former four-star, played it in an inept offense, could take a step forward. Terrell Bynum, he's become a veteran from the Washington Huskies offense. He comes over via transfer, 1.8 yards per route run. They also have Gary Bryant, a player that was asked to do a lot last year as a true freshman. He actually caught 579 yards on 44 catches. He's a guy that could take a step forward. Former Memphis transfer Taj Washington is still there. You guys get the point. There's so many strong players in the skill position group that if they lose one due to injury or need to spell them, there's not going to be much of a step back. And then you look at the offensive line. They're losing just one starter. And the players they have coming back outside of Cortland Ford are pretty solid. Andrew Voorhees is an awesome player on the interior. He's probably going to be an NFL draft pick. Brett Nylund, his PFF grade was the second highest on the team. Justin Diedrich, elite grade from PFF as well. And Jonah Monheim, he's a player well above average here. You have 3 starters coming back that are elite in Voorhees, Nylon, and Diedrich. Monheim above average. All we need is Cortland Ford to take a step forward, or they did get Virginia transfer Bobby Haskins on the offensive line. This unit's also going to be strong. The biggest question with USC heading into the season is their defense. We already know Grinch. There's some questions about him as DC. I'm not as worried as some people, but USC is only returning 3 starters to this team, and they finished 98th last year. Fortunately, they did land 11 transfers on defense. 5 of them are projected to be starters immediately. They have 3 recruits of a 4-star caliber or better, and that we can look at their number 1 recruit in this class, Damani Jackson. He's the number 5 player in the country. He's a cornerback. He's the number 2 corner. This team, on top of having the number 1 transfer class, they also had the number 70 recruiting class. And that might not sound great, but it's top heavy. We talked about Damani Jackson, the 5-star. They also have Zion Banch and Fabian Ross. These are 2 players on defense that are inside the top 250 players in this class and could see time. Now, digging into the roster a little bit, some of the players that returned for USC are really solid, high-caliber players. Nick Figueroa had 5 starts last year, but he's a guy that graded out extremely well in a small sample, according to PFF. Corey Foreman is another player who didn't play a ton of snaps, but he had the 4th highest PFF grade on this defense. He comes back and he could be asked to play a larger role. Not to mention they get Romello Height on the defensive line coming over from Auburn, in addition to a few other transfers. Linebacker should be strong here too. Shane Lee is a highly coveted player coming out of Alabama who's leaving to get a little more playing time. He's going to bolster this linebacker room. The defensive backfield has plenty of good starters. Mekhi Blackman comes over from Colorado. He started 16 games there. Latrell McCutcheon comes over from Oklahoma, where he already has familiarity with this system. Bryson Shaw is another player who transfers over from Ohio State. He has 12 starts there. And then we already mentioned the high-profile recruits highlighted by Damani Jackson. I'm going to say this defense isn't as bad as people think, and I think there's a chance that it's significantly better than the 98th defense where USC finished last year. No, they're still probably not going to challenge Ohio State. They're still probably not going to challenge Alabama, which is why I don't like them to win the national championship as far as betting goes. But when you do look at this team to win the Pac-12, there's a significant chance that they're just better than every other team. If you want to look at a team like Utah for reference, they weren't anywhere near USC in terms of the transfer portal and the additions they made this offseason. They'll be trotting out the same players. That's going to be a close game, and I think it's probably the one that decides the conference. So for me, I'm still willing to bet USC plus 220 to win the Pac-12. That's my favorite bet for this team, and their win total at 9.5 is something I would look towards the over on, but it's not my favorite. Their non-con is up and down. Rice and Fresno State are 2 probably wins, but then you get Notre Dame to close the year. Within the conference, you're at Utah. That's not going to be easy. You also draw at UCLA. That's going to be a rivalry game. And USC, they will be favored if the season were to start today. But that's a tough game as well. So for me, rather than bet the win total at 9.5, my favorite bet here is going to be just to win the Pac-12 at plus 220. You get a lot of wiggle room. Schedule is manageable. And with the new structure of the Pac-12 championship game this year, USC doesn't have to be perfect to get there and then ultimately win if this roster does take some time to gel. But that'll do it for us today. My name is Matt Gajeski on Twitter at Matt_Gajeski. Let me know what you think of USC, all the analysis in this video, and players that may or may not step up for this team. Until then, we will see you again next time.